Welcome to the Axios show.
Thank you.
We wanted to make this more of a conversation than a typical interview where we're just going to hop around from topic to topic. And we wanted to do, Axios likes to do one big thing.
Okay.
And so the one big thing we want to talk about is power and how you think about it and how you wield it.
He's like, I'm so bored. What are we doing here?
A decade ago, you first became president. And you've had loads of experience since then. In that span of time, what is the one big thing you've learned about wielding power?
Well, I think you have to do it judiciously. I think that experience is good. I always say that potential is far more important. In other words, having ability is far more important than experience, but having both is very good. And I learned a lot during the first administration. And I was told just the other day, because, you know, we had a tremendous G7 and very dominant G7. We got what I wanted. And somebody said the other day that this is a far more powerful administration or term than the first one. And we had a good first term. You know, we had the best economy. We had a lot of good things happening. We built the military. We did a good job. But I feel it's a more powerful term than the first one. Now, that comes with experience. It also comes by having somebody precede you who was a disaster. I mean, the man was a disaster. And so when you're compared to somebody like that, you look maybe better than you are. That's possible. But I feel that it's a very powerful administration right now.
You mentioned the G7. You saw a number of world leaders. You walked in and you said, I'm the boss. How many of them believe that?
All of them. But I was just being funny. What happened is they were all sitting. And then I walked into the room, and it was just sort of funny because it's a very long table, but there's only 7 of them. The table is meant for like 30 people. So the whole end of the table looked like almost a perfect podium type setup, right? And I saw them all sitting. They're all well-known figures, right? The heads of countries. We had a couple of others in there too, as you know.
I'm the boss.
As an example.
Yeah, boss baby. Trump is gay for Xi and Modi. Where is Swan? Swan is not at Axios anymore. I think he went over to New York Times. He got hit with the woke beam. I love Dementia Donnie. I don't. I will love Dementia Donnie if Dementia Donnie accidentally arrives at the correct point and has like that moment of honesty and truth that he sometimes has, right? Where he'll turn around and be like, Israel's wrecking this deal. They've gone far beyond what they should have been allowed to do. And I'm going to put an end to it. I'm doing an arms embargo. If Donald Trump does an arms embargo or a fuel embargo, jet fuel embargo on Israel, oh my Lord, dude. I mean, it probably will never happen. And it doesn't even need to get there. All it needs to be is a threat of an arms embargo on Israel. I'm sure Israel will turn around and you know, unload the maximum amount of blackmail, bots released that just like show Donald Trump with AI footage or maybe real footage, who knows, with children. Who knows what they'll do. I'm telling you, these next like 65 days are the most consequential days for the Zionist lobby and all of its Hasbara operations, its influence peddling operations. This is where it will be tested, okay? Donald Trump basically needs to come out and say this.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Modi of India, great guy. A lot of people came. They're allowed to come if they want and sit. But I walked in there, these leaders, and I just looked at him. I said, I'm the boss, and you remember. And you know that was done as a joke. This thing got carried all over the world. I can't believe it. I was just being cute, funny. I wasn't trying to be the boss.
You have experience, obviously, with world leaders from your 2 terms. What's your definition of a great leader? How do you define?
Well, you have so many different types of leaders. Yesterday, as an example, I'll mention the name again because pretty great. You know, all my life I've watched India. They just kept changing. Somebody would be there for 6 months and then a year. And then all of a sudden, Prime Minister Modi ends up there. He's been there for more than 12 years. Very solid. And he does it through like there's a great calmness. And yet he's not a calm person. He's a very tough guy. I know him very well. And you have such different leaders. I watched Brazil, the leader who I know a little bit. He's a very volatile person. You know,
You're not a fan of Lula, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not a fan or not a fan. I don't think about him, to be honest with you. I don't really think about him. I couldn't care less. But he's a different kind of a person now, very volatile. I watched as he made a speech, and it was a very volatile, and it's fine. It's all different types. So when you say about leaders, when you say about, you know, what do they all have in common? Look, they're all smart. You can't get to that level without being smart. You know who's very smart is President Xi of China. He's a very smart man. You don't get to those levels where you're running a country, even if it was a small country. You have something special. Now, in some cases, it doesn't work out, but you need something special. It's not an easy thing to do.
What is it about Xi that you find most admirable?
So we have a very good relationship. And you probably heard me say yesterday, I said, I want to thank him because he didn't get involved with the whole thing with Iran. He could have gotten involved. He could have sent a nice oil ship surrounded by 12 destroyers and see if he could blast his way through the blockade, which was an unbelievable military. I think it's going to go down as one of the great military maneuvers. It was every bit as important as all the bombing we did. It really, they were dying. They had no money, no nothing for months. But President Xi, I asked him, I said, I'd really appreciate you not getting involved. And he was great. He didn't get involved. And I think if somebody else.
I worry Israel will turn into Rhodesia in the sense that their colonial overlords stopped. I missed it. I think Trump love for Xi is very one way. Yeah, it is. All these guys know exactly how to manipulate Trump. And not only that, but they also don't really need to do much because they already have the motion. Let's be real. Donald Trump wants to run the United States of America in the exact same way that Putin is running Russia. Okay? That's what he wants. And that's probably the most advanced version of this kind of like autocracy. Erdogan, to a lesser degree, runs Turkey in a similar manner. And Donald Trump wants that. So he already has a lot of reverence for these people. He already has a lot of respect and reverence for these people because they're kind of, they're doing what he wants to do. There's a level of jealousy almost. As far as China goes, I mean, obviously this is very different. Like the Chinese form of governance is very different than the Russian form of governance and the Turkish form of governance. There's like an obvious party apparatus, meritocratic approach to the bureaucracy within the party system. And the party's ultimate goals are obviously to undermine the forces of capital, and they've done so very successfully. I'm not going to get into it. It's much more complicated than that. But like from his perspective, he looks at China and he thinks, oh, it's the same thing, right? Xi Jinping commands the respect and is a legitimate leader of a unbelievably powerful sovereign nation, and Donald Trump respects that. He wants that for himself. And same thing with Modi in India to a lesser degree, but like. Basically, those are the reasons why he already has a lot of reverence for these people. And that reverence even extends to Kim Jong-un, right? Kim Jong-un runs the DPRK. Trump respects that. And he likes that. He likes that. And he wants that for himself here in the United States of America, right? All of these different forms of leadership that I just explained to you, they're not the same. But from his perspective, it is the same. They're very different systems. But from Trump's perspective, he just sees like banners, fealty, loyalty, almost complete control over the functions of government. And he thinks to himself, I want this in America for myself. So he already respects that quite a bit. And then also on top of that, these guys will throw parades for Trump. And then he loves that. So he's easily manipulated when he sees a leader that he actually respect him back, albeit that praise is probably fake. That has a lot of staying power with him. It was a big part of the reason why he hated the European leadership, because the European leadership openly showed their disdain for him in the first term. And then in the second term, the European leadership have actually vassalized themselves. They're so unbelievably openly servile that Trump correctly perceives that as weakness, right? Trump correctly perceives that as weakness. And he doesn't respect that. He doesn't respect the Democratic Party for the same exact reason. I'm willing to bet Trump has far more respect for the IRGC and the supreme leadership and the Iranian, like the Islamic Republic of Iran, than he does for the Democratic Party. Why? Because he had to fight it. He had to fight them and he lost. And all of a sudden, the dynamic shifted. So he has a lot more reverence for those guys. Okay. I promise you, it seems so stupid. It seems so crazy if you think about it with like American exceptionalism in mind. But Donald Trump is truly a different kind of American leader. And oftentimes that's not better than previous leaders, but in certain instances, it can be better than previous leaders who are ideologically minded and invested in the continuation of American hegemony. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about American hegemony. He only gives a shit about Donald Trump. Okay? Yeah, he doesn't like the Italian prime minister any longer. He had a beef with Meloni. He got real mad. Trump totally fabricated claims. She begged him for a photo. Italy's Giorgia Meloni says. Yeah, and by the way, this isn't like a crazy far-fetched conspiracy. He has openly revealed this. He said, Kim's people sit up when he speaks. I want my people to do the same. This was back in 2018. Like, here's what I believe, okay? I don't think that's like terrifying in the way that like liberals presented it at the time when they were like, he wants to be Kim Jong-un. Like, it's all a matter of whether we allow him to get there or not. And unfortunately for us, the liberal political class will chirp about that, but then actually not do what's necessary to stop that from taking place, okay? I, on the other hand, have a different approach where I'm like, yeah, sure, he wants that, but we have to fight to make sure that that doesn't happen, okay? He's a weak, cowardly man who wants to project strength and get the respect of strong men he idolizes, yes. Anyway, Trump to Axios, by the way, in this interview that we were watching, says, unfortunately, I've hurt the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was seriously injured while showing courage, okay? So let's get back to this and we'll continue.
Would have said that. I don't think somebody else would have even asked him that, but I did. I get along with him well. He's a strong man. He's no games. He won't sit down and say, oh, what a beautiful day. This is a wonderful day, Mark. Look how beautiful. Look at the sunshine. There's none of that stuff. It's like all business, which I like. I think it's great.
Is there something about the Chinese system that you think advantages him and his country that you wish you had here?
Well, it's actually supposed to be a disadvantage. You know, we have the entrepreneurship and all the things you read about, but they're there just about as quick as we are. You know, you go to something's hot. And we get there, and the Chinese are standing there before us. Or we beat them by a little bit. But I'll tell you, we're beating them on AI. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the most powerful military in the world. He admitted to me, you have the most powerful. I did a great job. I rebuilt our military in the first term and did it well. Look, take a look at Venezuela. 48 minutes, the whole thing was over. 48 minutes. And by the way, now we have a great relationship, and we've paid for that war with Venezuela many, many, many times. We're taking out millions of barrels of oil, and we're making them more money than they've ever made before. All the big oil companies are moving in. It's amazing. There's no place with that kind of oil. I guess us, maybe we have the most, and they're probably second or third.
Obviously, if I ask you who are the two greatest or leaders you like the most on the world stage, I'd assume one of them is Xi.
Yeah, I think in terms of...
Hey, JD Pondon, baby. Look, I'm not one of these people that'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's saying that he likes the leader of our greatest foreign adversary. It's not bad. Trump literally doing the U.S. military when they see oil meme, and he championed himself as different from the Cheney neocon class. He is different from the Cheney neocon class. No Dick Cheney acolyte is ever going to turn around and be like, yes, Xi Jinping is my favorite global leader, okay? These are the types of things that no other American president will ever say. As a matter of fact, when Joe Biden said something that was not that offensive at all, I think he said, like, we have to just, like, compete with China, but we don't have to wage war with China, something along those lines. The entire political apparatus pounced on him, okay? There is so much freedom in just not giving up about what the media class and what the political class has to say, okay? I think it's important to be bold and to be brave. If you are a democratic socialist, you should keep this attitude in mind. It doesn't matter if the forces of capital will pounce on you, okay? You can be bold and brave as long as you have confidence in your message, as long as you have that moral clarity, you have that moral conviction. Donald Trump obviously doesn't have the moral clarity or moral conviction, but he certainly has a good deal of confidence in delivering this message. And he is rewarded endlessly for it. He's rewarded regardless of his awful platform. You have to remember that, because like it's not like his platform is offering anything new or good to the working class, and yet he's still rewarded with fealty, unbelievable fealty that he earns from these moments where he is bold and brave, and he cuts through the noise where he's like, I don't care. Yes, Xi Jinping, he runs the country like a Swiss watch, and I like it.
Leadership, I think that's true.
Who's the other? When you think of power and leverage and the ability to execute on it.
Well, I think Modi is very good, yeah. They've had some very good numbers announced. He stays out of wars, which is smart. He's 1.5 billion people. He's actually the biggest. India's actually the biggest. And Modi's a great leader. And we do a lot of business with them, but now we do fair business. They used to really rip us off. I don't blame them for that. We had stupid politicians, but that allowed that to happen. But now we do a lot of business. They're not that happy about it because they used to do a lot better. So, but Modi's great. President Xi is great. Classics, I mean, if you were going to make a movie about either one of them, you wouldn't be able to find the man in Hollywood. I'm telling you, it's as an example, the look of Xi. He's got a great look. Looks don't matter, right? We don't like that. They say don't talk about looks, but he's he's tall. He's 6'2". He's got a great stature. He's got great confidence, and he's smart. Modi in a very different way. He's just highly respected. I've seen. I know the real Modi is a very tough cookie. I'll tell you. I got to know some that I didn't know very well in Pakistan. You have the field marshal, who's great, Munir, he's great. And you have the prime minister, and they just get along great. I figured, well, maybe the military guy he totally respects the prime minister. It's a beautiful thing to see. But they really helped us with this deal where, they knew the Iranians, they knew the people, and they were good. You have leaders you have so many different types. For the most part, if you're a smart person, you can understand, you have to be in these positions, you have to be smart, you have to be tough, maybe smart even more so, but the combination is probably better. But there are a lot of great leaders out there, and there are a lot of really bad ones.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
I know.
Europe. Democrats, all the liberals in Europe, Keir Starmer, and Loki, he's not even wrong. Like, they do suck. They do suck. I mean, obviously, he is probably one of the worst leaders, but he's right when he says the Democrats and all these other guys are dog shit, right? Israel Hayom, long owned by the Adelsons, published an article calling Trump a traitor and embarrassment and a failure to the Israelis. You could have been the greatest president of all, but you failed. Mr. President, you have gravely harmed the human interests of the enlightened world, and you may be remembered forever as the president who brought up America's humiliation. You betrayed us, the Israelis, and in a single moment, the contempt you once faced suddenly seems so justified and logical. Oh my God, they're such babies. I love watching them cry. They're such babies, bro. It's the most entitled, the most arrogant crybullies I've ever seen in my life. And I've dealt with far-right neo-Nazis my entire career. And they're very similar in many respects. They're similar in ideology, but the level of arrogance and entitlement is unique to the Zionist neo-Nazis, because for the longest time, they've gotten everything they've ever wanted. No questions asked, bipartisan support. So they just cannot comprehend being told no. Because at the end of the day, if you remember, I said this a couple days ago, what's the goal here? What is the ask from Israel? This administration has been the most pliant, the most servile to the needs of Israel, down to the wire. This administration is the one that gave Benjamin Netanyahu and the Zionist project their ultimate goal. And they failed, right? They fought in Iran and they failed. What is the demand from the American side against Israel now? Stop murdering people in Lebanon. Stop blowing up homes in Lebanon. Stop invading Lebanon. Stop occupying Lebanon. That's it. That's it. And these guys are running around making it seem like that demand is basically the second Holocaust. Are you out of your mind? Just stop murdering children. What the f is wrong with you? Literally, these dudes are just I can't even... If I don't blow up another Lebanese village, you literally want the Holocaust to happen to me specifically, is the way that they're freaking out. It is the most insane thing I have ever encountered. If you don't let me do another Holocaust like the one I did in Gaza, but this time in Lebanon, you want me to experience the Holocaust. That's the argument here. It is the most unreasonable people I have ever seen in my life, because fascism, when met with unlimited fealty, creates this incredible cry-bully narrative. That's the only expectation, guys. Listen. If you just read Israeli outlets, if you just read Israeli politicians and their tweets, you would think that the American government is basically saying, the IRGC can actually drone strike Tel Aviv every single day, and you can't do anything about it. They're going to come in and they're going to murder Israeli children every day, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like, they're making it seem like that is the demand from the American side. No, the demand from the American side is stop invading Lebanon. Stop invading Lebanon. That's the only demand that the Americans are making of Israel. And they are treating this like the biggest existential threat that they've ever withstood, that the entire international Jewry has ever withstood, as a matter of fact. Not just Israel, just every Jew. Every Jewish person around the world is now in grave danger if Itamar Ben-Gvir doesn't get his wishes across and he doesn't like murder Lebanese babies every day. And then they sit around, because they're so echo chambered and so oblivious to the way that the rest of the world sees them, they sit around and go, oh, everybody must hate us because they're all anti-Semitic. It's like, no, dude, they hate you and I hate you because of this. This is the reason. Because you did it in Gaza and now you're trying to do it in Lebanon and you're the most entitled country on the planet. You're a fascist expansionist project that has unbelievable levels of entitlement. It's like a mass hallucination incident.
Who are the two weakest?
Well, I can't say that because
You're the president.
I can't say. I will tell you, though, that this couple of days was interesting. It was held in France, and Emmanuel Macron of France, who won't be there that much longer, he's the president, and he was, I'll tell you what, he did a great job of hosting the G7, really good. No games, no nothing. And he invited me about a week before. He said, would you do me a favor? Would you come into Paris? We'd like to honor you. I view it as honoring the nation. But he said, I'd like to honor you. And he had the biggest people in Europe there and beyond. I mean, some people in Versailles. And I was sort of not going to do it, but he knew my weakness because I think Versailles is one of the great places.
What's your weakness?
Like places like Versailles. But no, it's incredible. So, and it's not something they do. I understand that they don't do that. They don't do dinners at Versailles. And we had a fantastic dinner. I think he did a fantastic job, I'll tell you, with the G7. I've seen G7s. I've been to a lot of G7s and used to be G8s. They should have kept the G8. You probably wouldn't have the war with Russia and Ukraine if they did, but Obama didn't want Putin there. I guess one or two others also, but they wanted Putin out. It used to be the G8. Would have been much better if they kept that way.
Shift to Iran. There's now light at the end of the tunnel for the conflict. What have you learned about not just the exercise of power, but the limits on your power?
Yeah, like, dude, this is what's so crazy. Mark Levin, Hezbollah launched an attack tonight in which 4 Israeli soldiers were essentially incinerated. I assume Israel will hit back very hard. No MOU or final agreement will change who these terrorists are. Ryan Grimm says, I've never heard of a country invading a neighbor and then calling it unfair that their soldiers died in that invasion. I don't think any other country ever even thought to make that complaint. On top of that, Israel now wants to retaliate for its soldiers while invading its neighbor. This is pure madness. Just leave Lebanon. It's insane. Zionists have a genuine brain disease. Brother, Russia doesn't even do that. Exactly. No, literally, this has never happened throughout history where it's like, the only time that you can make a close comparison to that is literally Nazi Germany. That's it. Nazi Germany occupying other countries and then like punishing the civilian population for the crime of fighting back. That's pretty much it, right? That's it. It's unbelievable, man.
As a result of the conflict.
There are no limits.
No limit.
No, not. I haven't learned that lesson yet. I know there are, but there are no limits. We defeated them totally militarily. I was asked by Pakistan, because they're close, to please not do any more. I said, I like them a lot. I think that there are no limits. We have the most powerful military in the world, by far. Who else could have done a blockade like that? I did a naval blockade where not one ship was able to get through. Some tried. They didn't, it didn't last very long.
And it certainly brought Iran to the table more than before. However, beginning a conflict, you had talked about you only wanted unconditional surrender. And the MOU doesn't look like unconditional surrender.
Well, it really probably is unconditional surrender.
It is?
I think so. Look, they have no military. They're all at the bottom of the sea. 159 ships, that's what they have.
Sure, but they could still menace. They only had these small one, Gashti boats or go-fast
Look, you
boats.
call it what you want. I hear the JCPOA, the Obama nuclear catastrophe. which was so bad. When Obama left, he didn't hit their military.
Sure.
He didn't damage their Navy or destroy their Air Force. I destroyed the Air Force. I destroyed their anti-aircraft weapons. That's why we were flying over there totally unimpeded. We turned off all the stealth. They couldn't do a damn thing. He didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't do their leadership. I did twice, 2.5 times to be exact.
I fixed the typo in my tweet. Don't worry. And also, wouldn't them having no military make the MOU even more embarrassing? Yeah, obviously it's dude. And it's so funny because like they have to do some sort of face saving exercise here because like obviously there's a higher priority of like maintaining American military dominance, regardless of how stupid that is to try and advance in this very moment when it's very clear that American force projection capabilities are nowhere near what people perceive them to be in the past. And that's why they have to be like, oh, well, we destroyed their Navy. We destroyed their Air Force. Okay, so you're doing this MOU out of the kindness of your heart? No. Is that what it is? Is that what's going on? You just really wanted to give a big shout out to Iran? Is that what it is? Ben-Gvir is coming to New York City next month for a UN policing conference. He should be arrested. Yes. Oh, that would be so good. Yes, I agree.
He didn't do anything to Soleimani. Soleimani.
And the Ayatollah.
And the
And a number of IRGC officials.
And I
most
sadly hurt the other Ayatollah.
Holy shit.
Who I will tell you, I did not meet him. I did not speak to him, but people were speaking to him. But he's got a certain braveness because he's badly.
Glaze, you know this already. When Trump starts glazing the foreign adversary leadership, this is again, it's giving me more confidence, okay? Trump only does this if he is losing and he's recognized defeat, okay? Trump only does this when he recognizes that he has been defeated. He did this with Ansar Allah as well. He was like, they're brave guys. We shot them dead, but they kept fighting, okay? This is the way Trump capitulates because in his mind, he's so narcissistic that he thinks like, oh, if I'm actually conceding on anything, then it must be a worthy adversary, right? Because in his mind, he'll never concede to a weak leader, right? So in his mind, he has to be like, this guy is obviously brave. He's obviously brilliant. He's obviously strong because otherwise I would never concede. I would never concede to weakness, right? He does not lose to weak opponents. He doesn't even recognize that he has lost. Obviously, he will never say that out loud, but whenever he actually finds himself offering concessions to an enemy, an adversary, an opponent, that means that that opponent is actually brilliant, brave, and strong. So this isn't a bad thing. This is actually a good thing. It means that like the MOU, it gives me more confidence that he might maintain the MOU. We'll see.
Injured.
Oh, the second,
Yes,
the
the son,
junior. Nevertheless, all of those things being true.
Well, you can't just say, oh, forget about it. Excuse me, I wiped out their military.
I don't dispute that.
For those people that say, oh, maybe I wasn't tough enough, I've wiped out. I took out their biggest bridge because they showed up late at the meeting. They said, that wasn't very nice. You know that bridge? That's their George Washington Bridge. I wiped it out in 3 minutes. I took out Carg Island, everything except one thing. I said, leave the pipes alone because, I'm not looking to damage the world economy. So I think we were very tough. The people that say, oh, he could have been tougher. The entire military is gone. Ready? Air Force is gone. Do you agree? It's gone.
Wiped out.
There's no airplane.
Yes.
There's no airplanes. They had a lot of them. They had 200 of them. They're all gone.
Well, they didn't really have a robust Air Force, and what they were able to accomplish with their limited Air Force, many of the fleets are like 50 years old at this point. These are like old American gear that they had purchased with no new parts. These are all jerry-rigged airplanes, okay? They were still capable of maneuvering through the American defenses and strike the bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. It's unbelievable what they were able to pull off, okay? Holy shit, his hand is actually deformed. What the just realized it is. What is that color, man?
Navy, 159 ships, right? All at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, look. Yeah, he says Iran's F-5 pilots who flew below 50 feet and bombed the U.S. military base in Kuwait. The pilots say the crew dropped under 50 feet, 10 times lower than the 500-foot training standard, holding total radio silence past Patriot batteries, AWACS, active radar sites, and Kuwaiti F-18 patrols. They flew so low across the Gulf that 2 ship decks sat above the jet Sailors looking down as it passed between the hulls. Power plants and refineries sat exposed the whole route. They ignored everyone and put the bombs on Camp Beering in Kuwait's North Desert. Now, that is the reason why the friendly fire incident took place. Because what they were capable of doing with F-5s, because of what they were capable of doing with F-5s, by the way, there's evidence that this is real. I don't know if I don't know if they're exaggerating how low they were flying, but I do know that they were capable of evading all of the surveillance that America had in the region and did actually unironically blow up with direct munitions from the F-5s, both in Kuwait and also in Bahrain as well. Which, by the way, Kuwait is even more impressive because it's further down, further away. And here's the thing. That created such a security incident in Kuwait that the Kuwaiti Air Force accidentally shot down 2 of the American fighter jets because they did not know, in that panic moment, they did not know if it was an Iranian fighter jet or if it was an American one. We were wondering how the Ghost of Kuwait incident took place. Now we know, oh, 3, sorry, not 2. 3 F-15s were downed by 1 Kuwaiti fighter pilot. The amount of things, why are you happy about them hitting Kuwait, man? Wait, what? MTK Suwaidi. Buddy, did you not hear what they just said? They hit an American base in Kuwait, an American base that was housing American fighter jets that struck Iranian soil. Kuwait, whether you had any say in this or not, doesn't matter, but Kuwait as a nation state houses American troops, American assets, and American radar installations. And not only that, but also American standoff launching platforms that actually directly struck Iran. It is perfectly valid for a belligerent to strike at a military base of the other fucking party that's blowing up their schools and their buildings and their fucking infrastructure and their oil refineries. That is a valid military target. There is nothing more valid for Iran to do than to blow up those things. So not only did the Iranian pilots manage to sneak all the way across the strait and over to Kuwait at ultra-low altitudes and decimate Camp Beering in 50-year-old F-5s, they actually caused so much chaos and confusion that the Kuwaitis ended up shooting down 3 of their own F-15s. Oh, I thought they hit civilians, my bad. No, they hit Camp Beering. And they hit it they hit it with such impressive maneuvering that the Kuwaiti Air Force panicked and struck down 3 American F-15s in mere moments, if you recall. So obviously, that's a much respect to the, Ghost of Kuwait there. But that is the reason, because they created so much chaos and they were like, what the fuck just happened? We didn't even realize. We had no early advance warnings that there were Iranian fighter jets on Kuwaiti soil, in Kuwaiti airspace. And by the way, there are videos of the F-5 pilots practicing this maneuver. This footage being circulated on Iranian channels from 15 years ago. What you see moving, hovering over the water is not a motorboat. It's an Iranian army mistake. And it's over. At that altitude, at that speed, you hit the water, it's the same as concrete. It's done. No survivors. These are insanely old planes too. Again, these are fucking F-5s, dude. These are 50-year-old fighter jets with no new components because of the blockade, because of the embargo. They don't even have new components in them. They've been jerry-rigging these things. This is the difference. Necessity breeds ingenuity, because Iran correctly recognizes that their war is existential, that they have been forced into this position. IRL Top Gun, though something tells me Hollywood won't touch this, the F-5 is a 60-year-old fighter jet, a genuine underdog against all the latest U.S. miltech. It's fine over calm seas. F-5s probably don't have terrain-following radars that would make this more relaxing. Pilot has a better grasp on the boundaries of the plane than I do with my car when I'm parking. Yes. And think about all the assistance that you get. They don't have that. It's a 60-year-old fighter jet, man. They don't have any of the new tech that would aid in maintaining low altitude. They got nothing. It's just a hope and a dream. Where is the video with the subtitles? Yeah. Felix would love this. Felix is all over this story. He already loves this.
Leadership. Their first stringers, all gone, including Khomeini, the first one. They then put a new group in there, very good, but very nasty. I dealt with them. They're gone. They're all gone. And we're dealing with the third group, who I actually think is the
Guys, them being 60-year-old fighter jets is more impressive because they don't have any of the new components to even fix they can't get the maintenance parts. They had to learn the inside of this fucking plane and literally make up components. You understand that, right? There's no parts. Like, these things are proprietary technology, as in every single fucking screw on this plane is American technology that you no longer have access to once the Iranian Revolution happens, right? So anything breaks, and these are obviously fickle pieces of tech at the end of the day, you know, it's complex. Things are going to break. Anything that breaks, you have to reverse engineer. Anything that breaks, you have to reverse engineer and build the components indigenously, okay? You're literally reverse engineering the components and building them internally and then hoping that it fucking flies. It's unbelievable.
smartest group. And I actually think it's regime change, if you want to know the truth. These are different
How
people.
is a regime change if you have...
Because they're different people.
But you have Khamenei Jr., you still have a lot of IRGC officials there.
They're different people.
All right.
Khamenei Jr. is different from the father.
You have a number
And we have people that are much less radicalized than the previous two groups, of which I knew them both. But think of it. Oh, why aren't you tougher? The only way I can get tougher is if I go in there for another 2 or 3 weeks and continue to bomb the hell out of them, right? But what does that get us? The Strait of Hormuz will not be open. Let's say I did that. Let's say I decided to do that. It was a decision I had to make. So right now, our stock market is through the roof. The oil prices are tumbling. The oil prices are practically the same as they were before I started. The big difference.
See, this is, at the end of the day, this is what it's about, okay? This is why Iran won. It's not, Iran does not have the capability of defeating America militarily, okay? There's no world where, like, all of that equipment, all that technology in a fucking head-to-head matchup, Iran is going to be able to defeat America. But that's not how wars are fought, and that's not how wars are won. It's never supposed to be a fair fight. Of course, they're going to engage in asymmetric battle and behave like an insurgency, take advantage of their topography as they have. And that's one of the most brilliant aspects of their production, their productive forces, is that they literally exist underground. They've taken advantage of their topography. It's a very mountainous region, and these missile silos are literally deep underground, so underground that it's like virtually impossible for bunker buster missiles that have been designed specifically to penetrate these deep underground facilities. They're designed in a way where they can't even fucking reach the facilities. And remember, they also did this without the Houthis. They did this without even closing off Bab el-Mandeb, the second strait that they have the capacity by way of the Houthis to close up. So there is even more cards that they can fucking deploy, and they did it without the Houthis. It's incredible. Prior to President Trump signing the memorandum of understanding with Iran, his advisors were flagging to him for weeks that global oil stockpiles were dwindling and the window to prevent the reserves from falling to critically depleted levels was closing. Trump yesterday at his press conference in France conceded to that likelihood before he signed the peace deal with Iran. If they closed Bob and made a Lego movie, America would be wrapped more than my Spotify.
Is that Iran will never have a nuclear.
This is also part of the reason why I said, like, America doesn't just wage wars against foreign adversaries. Like, they have a lot of additional responsibilities. With great power comes great responsibility. America is the hegemonic superpower. So it has made a promise to the rest of the world that they have to keep things stable. They are responsible for the fragility of the global capitalist system. And at the end of the day, that fragility yields promise for the foreign adversaries, especially when there is such close proximity to centers of profit. Iran used the geographic limitations of the Strait of Hormuz to its advantage. America can't just go, all right, we're blowing everything up. America is the shepherd and the torch carrier of this global system of capitalism. And therefore, the American president has a lot of responsibility to the forces of capital. And if the forces of capital are like, this is too much volatility, we're no longer making money, you're actually fucking the board up, they have to retreat. They have to manage a negotiated response. They have to literally say, all right, we're done with the fighting. We're done with the war. We will concede to your demands. There's nothing that they can do in this situation. America's perceived power becomes America's weakness overnight. And that's precisely what happened here. The Middle East correspondent for The Economist, Greg Carlstrom, says, and we should remember that for now, the key question is not, does Iran say Hormuz is open, but rather, do shippers fear Hormuz might be closed? Whatever the official statements, a sense of uncertainty will have a detrimental effect on traffic. See also Bab el-Mandeb. It is neither the U.S. nor Iran that determine whether the Hormuz is open or not. It's shipping and insurance companies. So he has to also manage this negotiation well, because as long as there's instability, shippers are obviously going to say, maybe there's too much volatility for us. We don't know if the fucking Strait of Hormuz has actually been demined successfully. We don't know. There's no guarantee from the Iranian side that they will refuse to open fire on ships. Yes, the drama shippers.
The weapon. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. Okay?
I got to pee.
It's very clear and very simple. But if I were hitting them right now, when you stopped, if we're not going to put boots on the ground, okay? I mean, you don't want boots on the ground, right? If we're not going to put boots on the ground, probably the same people, they go deep into the caves. They're called granite caves. They're very powerful. They go deep in, and then when we stop, they'll come up, and they'll probably be the same leaders. So nothing. Okay, ready? When I knocked them out, we knocked them out so powerfully, we would right now have the Hormuz Strait would be totally closed. It would have mines all over it, and it would have missiles flying over billion-dollar ships, and those ships will never sail. We wouldn't have oil for months. As long as you're dropping bombs, that thing is automatically closed, because those ships cost $500 to $1 billion apiece. They're not going to be sailing with rockets. So just to finish, I just looked. Oil is tumbling. The ships are roaring out of there. They want to go home. They want to drop. They're all full with oil. This is a gusher. I mean, we have 700 or 800 ships are leaving. But if I attack them, none of those ships are leaving. The stock market is way up, way, way up. The stock market is up over the last 4 or 5 days when it looks like we're going to make a deal. Stock market's up thousands of points. Everybody's richer. Now, would you rather have that or be like some stupid people? I'd be honest with you. I lost respect for some people because
Who'd you lose respect?
I don't want to mention the names.
Oh, you can.
But hardliners. Oh, you got to take them out yet.
Well, what are you going to?
Let me tell you. And plus, I'm not looking to kill people. I have one primary wish as president. In terms of people, I never want to be the late great Herbert Hoover. So this is the kind of thing that could cause a worldwide depression. Do you know that for the last 2 months, I've been taking many ships out there and nobody knew it? You know why they didn't know it? Because we knocked out their radar. We knocked out all of their defensive stuff, and they were unable to see. Last week, we had one night 25 ships, one night 22, one night 19, one night 21. So every night, for all these ships
out.
Oh, we should a lot. That's how the people were saying, "Where is
The
this
late
oil
great
coming
Herbert
from?"
Hoover.
Nobody knew. We'd leave at 1 o'clock in the morning, all lights off.
I can't believe that there's a literal fucking Professor Morandi GIF emote on this goddamn website, dude. It's so funny.
And we'd
Zay
have our
Squirrel.
Navy destroyers going alongside, and they had no equipment because we destroyed all of the equipment that would normally be, used to detect this. And I went for a month and a half taking many ships out there every night at 1 o'clock in the morning. And we were never detected until about a week ago. And then I announced that we're doing it.
Well, I think the New York Times had reported that you guys were engaged in that operation of 20
Yeah,
ships
maybe.
or whatever. I wanted to shift.
They shouldn't have. If they did, they shouldn't
Well,
have.
they had good sources.
I mean,
Um,
that's not very patriotic if they did.
Well, I did want to talk about Cuba and AI.
We'll do it. And we have to do it fast because they're waiting for me at a
Right.
very important meeting.
So you had said if Cuba is, or better said, if Iran is finished, then it's time for Cuba.
Right.
Is there a clock, a countdown clock on Cuba? What does
It's
that
a
look like?
flexible line, but Marco is involved very much. Marco's doing a great job, by the way. All my people are doing a very good job. But Marco's parents, it's such a great story. His parents were from Cuba. So you do agree I defeated Venezuela? Incredible.
100%.
I got him out
How do you
of
make the
there.
operation in Cuba look more like the Venezuela operation?
Well,
which
the
took-
difference is Venezuela has oil, Cuba doesn't. Cuba has nice property and they
How
have
do you
nice
make it-
shoreline.
Right. How do you make
They
it
don't have-
look more like the Venezuela operation than the Iran operation? Iran operation took longer. Venezuela
No,
was
I
done
think
quick.
the Iran operation, in a certain way, it's much bigger,
Yeah.
much more powerful from the standpoint of weaponry than Venezuela. But Venezuela is a very military state. They have a lot of soldiers. We went into that fort, and they had thousands of soldiers in, and we went in with 201 people. And that was the pilot was very brave. He had his leg shot from underneath with the machine gunner who got who escaped a bad life, a bad death. So, no, I think that Venezuela, here's the thing. In Venezuela, it was so incredible, right?
Yeah.
And we waited and waited, and at the right time, I said, let's go do it now. We waited for the weather. We had to wait 6 days. We had some really bad weather. The pilot said, sir, we want to do it. We went in less than ideal. They didn't care. And it actually lasted 48 minutes. And this is an arm, they have a lot of soldiers. They have a lot of good soldiers. If you look at Iran, they've been doing this stuff for 47 years. They've been taunting you and everybody else, all of the media, everything. They're very good with the press. They have a great fake media. And I put out a truth a little while ago. I said, if I had the white flag of surrender raised, and if they said, praise be to Allah, Trump is the greatest president, we hereby surrender, the New York Times would write that they won the war. They've lost so much credibility. So it's a very different kind of a place than Venezuela. But Venezuela,
Oh, wow. Oh wow. At least he recognizes that now. Oh, it turns out the Iranian government was designed very differently than the Venezuelan government. Because remember, the reason why this is significant is because he literally believed when Benjamin Netanyahu was like, yeah, you'll just go in there. You'll just go in there. It'll be just like Venezuela. It'll be so fucking easy. It'll be so awesome. He was like, yeah, that seems good. That seems to be real. Nope. Turns out, not like Venezuela at all. The problem is, Cuba, in some respects, is similar. And that's what he's talking about here. He's like literally saying and this is him calling his next shot. And I do worry about this as well. We have to fight back against this as well. Because again, senseless militarism, senseless warfare, senseless amounts of death and destruction. He's going to try it again, especially because he has more perceived weakness. He's going to try to get a W here. He's going to try to secure a W here and most likely try to conquer Cuba. I know Cuba has done a lot of privatization initiatives now. They're actively trying to save their country. We'll get to that in a little bit, but libs won't stop the invasion of Cuba. I know. Well, we'll do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen.
we're running Venezuela with the people that we
Do you see the Cuba operation running similarly to the way
possibly
Venezuela?
it's possible.
This is what I despise. I hate hearing this shit. I hate hearing this. It's so callous the way that we talk about other countries. There are people that live there. There are people who have dreams. There are children. There are babies. There are good people, bad people. And the way that we just fucking talk about foreign nations, the way we get to talk about foreign nations is genuinely fucking disgusting. It is literally sociopathic. It is every bit the same energy-wise as what you hear from Itamar Ben-Gvir. Sure, he won't say oh, we're going to kill, Cuban mothers for the crime of our mothers crying or whatever. But it's the same energy. It's the same principle. It's so fucking dehumanizing. And then we justify this kind of reaction. We justify this kind of attitude because, all of our foreign adversaries are barbaric animals, right? They're lesser beings than we are. That's our attitude. This kind of psychopathic behavior, in my opinion, makes us the fucking barbarians, okay? It doesn't make them the barbarians that must be tamed. We are the barbarians that must be tamed. It's disgusting.
Well, there's another thing. These places are close by. Whereas if
Oh, we have a hype train. If you want to carry the fucking flame, level 2 hype train. If we get to level 10 hype train, I will play the Israeli Charlie Kirk anthem. Okay? Speaking of which, Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people, the people's broadcasting service. Support independent media by subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime, or by gifting subs to others. If we get to level 10 hype train, we will carry the flame once again.
I'm gay and Lebanese.
If you subscribe, you can send links. You can use emotes all around the platform. You can also rewind on a desktop. Maybe I'll play the Arabic version of the We Are Charlie Kirk. Who knows if I'm feeling frisky. The history of colonial conquest has always been justified by taming the beast, the barbarians, the lesser beings. Okay, that's not new. It's totally the oldest propaganda in the book. Manifest Destiny was the exact same. It was the ideology that justified chattel slavery. Wait, there's a country music version? Oh, I love that one too. Okay, maybe we'll do the country music version. Who knows? All right. Well, that is if we carry the flame today. We're at level 4 hype train, ladies and gentlemen. Keep subscribing. Keep gifting subs. Yeah, white man's burden, that sort of thing. It's always been the same. It's always been the same. What's wrong with Manifest Destiny? Every nation should serve its interests. What's wrong with Manifest Destiny? Just because there are people in other countries does not mean America should not progress its interests. It is what it is. We are the God-selected country after Israel, and nothing will stop us. I'm kidding. Oh, my God. Okay. I thought you were genuinely a real hog in the wild who was actually sincerely saying, like, what's wrong with fucking genocide? You were so close. Here, take a second off. Take a second off, buddy. I was about to fucking open up the barrage. Ugh. Anyway.
If you look at Iran, that's a very long trip. You know, I flew to that area a few times, and unrelated to this, but you're flying for 18 hours. You know, you're flying for a long time. Venezuela is relatively close, and Cuba's hopscotch.
Well, I wanted to talk about...
We're going to have Marco get involved with Cuba. Cuba wants to talk very badly. We have a lot of people that voted for me, like 95%. And we're going to...
Some of your strongest support is in the Cuban-American community.
That's right. No, I love them.
So wanted to present this to you, just the map of the Western Hemisphere. When you look at, I mean, not as a gift, right? But when you look at this, do you see this as a fundamentally American hemisphere? Is this fundamentally...
More and more so, yeah.
More and more so.
We're much more respected. So we had a man that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. And I don't want to talk about, because if I ever trip a little bit, they'll say, oh, this is terrible. Okay, can happen. But you can't trip every time you go on a stage. We had a man that wasn't respected. He wasn't smart 40 years ago. He was the worst thing that ever happened to old people, because I have old people, friends of mine that are 93, 95 years old. They're 100%. Gary Player, great golfer. I play golf. He shot 71. He's 90 years old, and he's mentally exactly the same as he was for the last 30 years. There are a lot of people. Biden was the worst thing that ever happened to old people, because you guys were not honest with the public. The public saw it. He was a disaster. And you know, the worst thing he did, inflation was really bad, but that wasn't the worst thing. The worst, because I inherited all this stuff. Look at what's happening with prices. Now they're coming down. And with the oil, they're really coming down. I had to make an excursion to stop a very volatile group of people that are smart, very smart. You know, the Iranians, very smart people. They're sort of primitive genius, but they're smart. I mean, okay? I had to stop them, because if they had a nuclear weapon, they would use it. And you want to see Bedlam? Let them blow up a couple of cities someplace like they would have blown up Israel. If it weren't for me, Israel would not exist today, because I terminated the Barack Hussein Obama deal, the JCP.
This is the best. I personally love whenever he brings up the JCPOA, because only Trump gets to do this, where he can point to a pivotal accomplishment of a former leader that he hates that was far better than the current one by American standards, by the American government standards. I don't personally care, obviously, because I care about justice. I care about what's, you know, moral, what's just. And by that standard, yes, the Donald Trump MOU is far better than the JCPOA. But from the perspective of like America, the entity, It's a far worse deal, right? That's why so many people are fucking losing their minds, because their expectation is, of course we get to dominate all of our enemies. Of course we get to do whatever the fuck we want. These sanctions are supposed to be permanent. Why does Iran get to sell their oil? Like that's the working mentality of the American foreign policy apparatus. So from that perspective, this is a huge, ginormous instance of defeat. Now, given the fact that the blob and the foreign policy apparatus's goals are outright antagonistic to the goals and the needs of the American working class, you shouldn't actually worry about this at all. However, it is very funny that he will then go to the media and say, remember when Barack Obama did the JCPOA, which was objectively better than the MOU deal that we're currently signing off on? Yeah, that was actually far worse. That was far worse, actually. No one believes that, man. The very same people that are Zionists themselves, ideologically or paid to be, bribed to be Zionists, will look to this current MOU and then will compare it to the JCPOA, which they despised at the time, openly, and say, oh my God, we didn't know how good we had it. Because their ultimate goal is Israel's goals. And Israel's goals are to destroy Iran, right? To dominate Iran, to destroy Iran, to destabilize Iran economically. That's why that's the interests that these sanctions served for decades. In any case, hello, how are you? What are you looking at? Hi. Anyway, let's continue.
Which was a road to a nuclear weapon. They would have had it 5 years ago.
Context: 2015 JCPOA limited Iran's uranium production capability for 10 years and barred the kinds needed for nuclear weapons.
So they would have used it within the first week, in my opinion, and Israel would no longer be with us. Israel would have been gone years ago had I not done that. Now, what surprised me most is they waited so long. They waited till I came back. They didn't do it intentionally. They didn't think I'd be coming back. A lot of people didn't think so because of weaponization. They weaponized government. But I came back with a roar, but better than before, I think, better than before. And think of it. Israel would have been gone if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers. They were all that enriched material. They were 1 month away. It was right there. They could have walked down. They can't do that anymore. You know, the B-2 bombers did their job with those great pilots. That's sitting, the mountain collapsed on top of it. It collapsed on top of it. Had we not hit them, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have used it on Israel. They would have used it also on Saudi Arabia. And you saw that on Qatar, on UAE, on Kuwait, Bahrain. Because when that war started, I guess my biggest surprise, almost immediately, missiles were flying at these 5 other countries. I said, why is he doing it? And you know what that did? That brought those 5 countries right into my lap. They were great.
And last one, artificial intelligence.
Excuse me, just 1 second. If it weren't for Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu worked well with me, but he will tell you, we're the ones with the guns, we're the ones with the whole deal, we're the ones with the B-2 bombers, etc. If it weren't for Donald Trump, Israel would have been eviscerated.
Your relationship with Netanyahu's...
It's good, but we have to keep him a little bit sane.
Are you...
Bro, just fucking unload. You are so bitch made. You're such a bitch, Donald. God damn, dude. We got to keep him a little bit sane. Just cook his ass. Unload. JD Vance understands the assignment. JD Vance knows what time it is. They are literally offloading all of the responsibility to Israel right now. At least those with ambitions of higher office, like JD Vance, recognize what the room looks like, are reading the room, and are straight up offloading all the responsibility to Israel, which is the spoiling party at this moment. It's also the inciting party for why this war started to begin with. Here's what JD is saying, by the way.
I do think that's...
But like, he is literally going on the Tucker Carlson Apologia tour right now. If you haven't noticed.
Sometimes, advocates of Israel or pro-Israel people in the United States.
Yeah, JD knows where the public is going and is trying to jump ahead of it and secure his distance from the administration on an unpopular issue. And all the expected rubes are falling for it. Sad. Yeah. Part of the reason why everyone is falling for it, by the way, is because they're desperate. They're hungry. And that hunger comes from the fact that no one on the opposing side is demonstrating any moral clarity on this issue at all. That's the problem. If the Democrats, because look, the way you present your coalition and the way you present the national opposition party to the Republican MAGA Trumpism matters. And for all of this timeline leading up to this very moment, if the Democrats have spent most of their time, energy, and their initiatives attacking their left flank as insurgents, as oppositional figures that they feel is an existential threat, rather than spending all that moment, all this time, shitting on Israel, shitting on the Trumps, shitting on Trumpism, shitting on Israel for how much they have manipulated American foreign policy, how much of the responsibility is actually in the hands of Israel. Instead of doing that, they yelled at the people who were doing that on their left flank. Then yeah, at this moment, there is a level of desperation for the public that will welcome this kind of response from J.D. Vance. If the Democrats, on the other hand, spent all this time shitting on Israel and basically being the leader, showing the rest of the country that they were actually the leader of this fuck Israel coalition, then J.D. Vance's statements in this moment would just come across as hollow. It would not come across as novel. It wouldn't come across as sincere. But because of that desperation from the public that have not heard this from anybody with the exception of maybe Zohran Mamdani at times, or maybe a couple fucking politicians that are running, that are getting yelled at by the rest of the Democratic Party, they hear this for the first time and they go, oh my God, he's brilliant. What the hell is this? Nessie?
Make two critical mistakes. One, on the one hand, is not delineating between America's interests and Israeli interests, because they're not always the same. But the second is always conflating criticism of a particular government with Jew hatred. Because if everything is Jew hatred, then nothing is Jew hatred. I actually think Jew hatred is very bad, which is why I think we have to be very careful about not calling it's kind of like how progressives for 20 years called everything racist. And if everything's racism, nothing is racism. And we have to be very careful not to, in order to serve a certain foreign policy objective, try to criticize.
Yeah, you know what's really fucking annoying? I need to charge this motherfucker for biting my shit, dude. This is literally what I've been saying. Stealing my fucking flow, bar for bar. What the hell? He just gave the Hasanabi bullet points. What the fuck? Tucker's been doing this too. Obviously, I can't even take credit for this because he's probably fucking cribbing Tucker's shit. Okay? But it's like, but this J.D. Vance cannot be the highest government official that says this. Okay? Where is the Democratic Party?
Somebody is anti-Semitic when they're just not.
Yeah.
Actually, he did watch Collargate. He did bring up Collargate in the past. So, like, obviously.
Completely agree with all that. And I think that distinction is important. However, from my vantage point, it seems to me like the bigger problem is I don't know exactly how I would describe it in a way that would be charitable, but almost like Israel derangement syndrome, going beyond, okay, yeah, we don't like Israeli policies. We don't think that we should put the priorities of any country first. Completely agree with that. That's fine. But the obsession that some people have, I would say on the right, with blaming all of their problems on Israel, all of their disagreements with Trump on some secret Israeli influence. And I'm not saying all of those people hate every Jewish person, but it seems to get there really fast. I see that more prominently on the right than I see true Israel first kind of obsession.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, no shit. Oh my God. It turns out there's anti-Semites on the right, guys. Alert the presses. Hey, I'm shocked. Guys, let me tell you how shocked I am that there are a lot of straight up anti-Semites on the right. It's crazy. What? How could this have happened? But even then, if the two working political forces in this country is right-wing boomer philo-Semitism and right-wing boomer anti-Semitism, or more so, the younger generation's Groyper anti-Semitism, okay? Right-wing boomer philo-Semitism is a far more consequential and far more powerful ideological force in the Republican Party than the right-wing anti-Semitism is, unless you're just on Twitter, at which point it's just all Groypers. Yes. So even on that front, I think she's wrong. By the way, ironically enough, both of those mentalities still come from anti-Semitism, otherizing Jews. Hassan is a gigantic fucking hypocrite. He constantly makes jokes that are meant to be sarcastic, but when a chatter does the same thing, he gets super butthurt about it. Screw you, dude. Middle finger emoji. Dog, you do realize that this is a visual medium as well, right? And I have established political opinions that you are aware of. So when I'm actually being sarcastic, you can kind of tell. Whereas an anonymous account making a statement is going to be a little bit more difficult to figure out, to identify sarcasm in, don't you think? I've made so many comments where I'm actually earnestly making a point that is worth talking about. You only read the comments that are frustrated at you about something you are being stupid about. Dog, you're in an arena full of people. Currently, there are 26,458 other people in here with you. I know from your perspective, it seems like I'm just in your living room talking to you directly. And in this current moment, I am talking to you directly. But like, you have to remember that at times. I think a lot of people forget that, where they go, no, he's talking to me. Please understand where I'm coming from every now and then, please. I can't know you personally. It's virtually impossible. Okay? I don't know what's going on. You never read my Toby Durdens? I'm sorry. I agree with you so much of what you're saying. I just think you get stuck on stuff that doesn't actually make sense and then get like reverse critical about stuff that you do exactly the same. Buddy, if you can't fucking figure out the irony of you advancing this cause right now while simultaneously saying like it's your fault that you're getting stuck on it, I don't know what to tell you. So in an effort not to be, bitch made chatter upset because they were timed out for being weird as fuck. Is Jason texting with Ashley St. Clair Lamau? Check logs. Okay. Let's not dunk on this chatter, okay? Let's not dunk on this chatter. Let's just be a little bit kinder to one another, and let's be a little bit more understanding of one another, okay? How about that? And in an effort to move along this conversation to more productive waters, I'm just going to move on from responding to that one chatter. And you guys should stop responding to that one chatter as well, okay? Let's continue with JD Vance stealing my shit. Verbatim.
You seem to be describing.
So I see both, and I think both are bad. And I'm probably particularly sensitive to the first thing because of the last 2 days I've been defending the president's decision to end the Iran deal. And I find often the arguments are, well, Israel doesn't think this is good, therefore it's bad. And my reaction is Israel's opinions matter, but fundamentally they are separate. But you're right. I mean, there are certainly people who take every frustration with the Trump administration, every policy disagreement because of Israel. And that is absolutely wrong. And again, I think that is one of those things that can bleed into some very dark places.
Yeah.
So I think that it's upon us as leaders, as public commentators, to just try to be very rational about this, to try to distinguish what is legitimate disagreement from ethnic hatred. And you just got to be careful about it. But I actually think both the Trump administration, but the right generally is.
By the way, this guy loves ethnic hatred so much. This guy loves ethnic hatred so much that he has literally thrown his own Indian wife and Indian children under the bus in order to gain the attention and love and admiration of some of the most odious forces in American politics. So, like,
anti-Semitism is a canary in the coal mine of fascism. It's one of the oldest bigotries that has caused those of the Jewish faith a tremendous amount of pain. From pogroms to the Holocaust, Jews have always been singled out by those in power as a scapegoat for instability and economic volatility people in power cause. A resilient, nascent anti-Semitism is a constant threat, especially as economic instability makes those in power seek out old targets. They're not very creative, usually. They just always rehash the same propaganda over and over again. This is precisely the reason why I am terrified of the conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. The conflation is dangerous. Valid criticisms against the state, especially as all of the violence is unfolding, and everyone can see it, valid criticisms against the state committing these atrocities and tying it back to Judaism is a cynical ploy to stop all matter of conversation is truly terrifying.
God, I've gotten so much better at fucking speeches. It's crazy. That written speech sounds like a fucking high school graduate. I've gotten way better. I've gotten way better at speeches, man. I swear. You're way too hard on yourself? Nah, you guys are being parasocial, I think. You're being too nice, which is nice. Normally, you're very unkind. Chat as a blob is very unkind at times, but it's okay to recognize the growth. You know what I'm saying?
Is in a place of figuring this stuff out. Any debate, every debate has excesses on either side, but that's part of the process of figuring this stuff out together.
You're going to be able to control Israel from attacking Lebanon.
Yeah, I will be. I mean, I wonder. They have a lot of respect for me, and they do as I say.
You mean Noah got better writing scripts? No, Noah doesn't write all the scripts, chatters. Holy shit. That's crazy.
Remember?
Like he edits my shit. Calm down, okay?
Remember this.
No, not
If I
Noah
don't
Sampson, Noah Colwyn.
Terminate the JCPOA. Road to it. Remember.
This is what I mean, by the way. This is what I mean. I just said, oh, I'm glad that you guys are being nice to me. And then immediately someone has to be like, you're stupid. I speak for a living, okay? These speeches and these scripts have nothing in them that you haven't heard a million times over from me on this broadcast.
That was a road to a nuclear weapon. Legally. It says right there. And Obama thought he could pay them off. He gave them billions and billions of dollars, $1.7 billion in cash. You know, it was a well-known story, but it didn't work. You can't bribe your way out of it. You can't pay off your way. But if I didn't do that, and if I didn't attack their nuclear supply 10 months ago with the B-2 bombers, Israel would not exist today.
So artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Did not a very artful transition by me. Do you see artificial intelligence as a weapon?
Well, if improperly used, it could be. If properly used, I will tell you one thing. It's so big.
Yeah.
It is big like nobody's, bigger than the internet. It's bigger than I've seen the different things come along. It's an age where people like you, if we're nice, smart people like we are, we watch and we see what's happening. This AI is incredible. Now, it's unbelievable for good. You're going to have medical cures coming up 25 years early because of it. You're going to have other things happening, but you have to watch. You know, we have a situation with Anthropic, and we didn't like what they were doing. And so far, I think they behaved very responsibly to our request.
Do you view Anthropic and, to a degree, its CEO, Dario Amodei, as a threat to national security?
Well, not now, but a week ago, maybe. I was with him yesterday. He made a speech. I made a little speech. We were in the room on the G7, and seems like a nice guy, smart guy. But he responded to us very quickly because, it's tremendous liability. People get put in prison immediately for that. You can't play games with that. And he responded very responsibly, I thought. So far, I think he will.
Do you have the power and the inclination to shut them down or possibly take them?
Well, I don't want to do that because I'm somebody that, we're beating China by a lot on AI. I was with President Xi. We talked about it. We're beating China by a lot. Everyone thought that we didn't have the electricity. I came up with an idea. I thought of it myself. I let them build their own electric plants when they're building their factories. That way they don't have to use an old grid. And they actually sell back into the grid at a cheap price, excess electricity. They need massive amounts. It's amazing, Mark. They need double the amount of electricity that this country produces for everything to run it. So I had the idea. I said, I'm going to let them. We don't have that kind of electricity. Really, nobody does. And they're building their plants, and they're building the most incredible electric producing factories you've ever seen. So we're leading China by a lot. It's going to be for the good, and we're watching for the bad. I think the good, let me put it a different way, the good far outweighs the bad. We are going to find the bad, and we're going to stop it.
You have the power to use the Defense Production Act,
I have the
potentially?
power to use a lot of things, yeah.
Would you consider using the Defense Production Act to possibly regulate or control AI or AI?
I would, but I'm not sure I have to do that. I think so far it's been very responsible. Actually, it was a competitor and a part owner that turned Anthropic in. They didn't like what they were doing. They were very concerned. Think of it, it's a part owner. And I think it worked out very well, I think.
And France at the G7 had talked about having an international group comes together. They want the United States to share more on AI.
Well, the problem we have is that we are leading everybody by a lot.
Where are you as you wind down your presidency? You've got 2 more years.
I don't call it a wind down. I think we got a lot of time. We have every 2.5 plus years.
Every
2.5 plus years.
presidency has a life cycle.
Yeah.
And as a president comes to in a second term to his last midterm, his party usually loses control of the House. His poll numbers usually start to decline, and he starts to weaken. And that's happening to you.
No, it's not. Fake polls. I have great poll numbers.
How do you maintain?
I would beat any candidate they have by 25 points.
Well, how do you maintain?
I have great poll numbers.
How do you maintain your power going forward? You have the Senate that's rebelling.
I don't think about it. No, I don't think about it. All I do is do my job. I have more than 2.5 years. I have a lot of time. But all I do is think about doing my job. And we have other things, very big things that I want to do in the next 2.5 years. Some very impactful things. Things are happening that aren't good, and I'm going to straighten them out. And some things are happening that should be better, and I'm going to make them better. This is a great presidency.
Are you going to miss being in this White House?
Well, it's so early. I don't like to talk about it because, 2.5 years is a pretty long time, in all fairness. I love the building. I'm fixing the building. I do that in my little side hobby. You see the granite, they had stones, it's broken. The marble's broken. The tile they have is garbage from a low-class place that sells garbage. This is the White House. You saw the white floor, I assume. You saw the beautiful granite. I fix it. I pay for it myself. I don't want money. And
I'm conflicted. Look at how excited he gets about this stuff. Like, you ask him about Xi Jinping, you ask him about Israel, you ask him about the Democrats, he's like, whatever. The moment you ask him about like renovations in the Oval Office, he's like, well, I'm fixing it. I'm doing so much. He lights the fuck up, dude. It is crazy. It's crazy how you can just tell what he sincerely likes to do. And it sucks because the things that he sincerely likes to do are also bad. And they're also objective failures, like the fucking reflecting pool. He loves doing interior design. He loves doing architecture, and it's still all dog shit. Every part of this presidency has been ass. Things that he hates, ass. Things that he loves to do, ass. It's crazy.
The White House will soon be in better shape than it was. And most importantly, when it was built, I'm building what will be one of the greatest ballrooms and safety nets anywhere in the world.
Maggie Haberman already wrote about this, but the new book coming out with Jonathan Swan and Maggie Haberman. It was not uncommon for Trump to superglue gold trim to the walls of the Oval Office. It's so gaudy. It's so gaudy. He wants to be a Gulf monarch so fucking bad. It's just like there is literally nothing redeemable about the Trump presidency. And yet tens of millions of people hang by every word. It is mind-boggling. Like, there are so many people who are hallucinating an alternative reality, an alternative existence where Donald Trump is awesome. He's doing everything great. Nothing bad can happen. Only everything good can happen. Shoes in TSA, little bro. Okay, facts. Fair is fair. The one redeemable aspect of the Trump presidency is that you can now wear your fucking shoes when you go through TSA. Except for the longest time, there was no funding of TSA as well. So there was also the standoff due to all of the funds going to ICE. He decorates like a rich Filipino grandma. Book describes how after Trump redecorated the Oval Office to fill it with gold flourishes, someone asked the president about the likelihood that the next president would undo all that he's done. Trump said, Cubans love gold. Oh, he's talking about Marco Rubio. Okay, that's a not so subtle remark, dunking on JD Vance as well. Can we get Zoran to fix the reflecting pool?
All bulletproof glass. It's all drone-proof roofs. It's actually a drone port on the top of the roof with views of everything's very high up.
And you're going to be able to get there through the Senate. I know the Senate has been...
I don't need it through the Senate. I'm paying for myself. I don't know what they're talking about. giving $1 billion. I don't need money from the Senate. I'm putting up my own money and the money of very great patriots. Apple, Microsoft, all. We don't need money. We have a judge that said he'd rather have it be put up by the government. Why? We're giving a gift of a tremendous military and also a very important ballroom for safety. You see how many, with all the whack jobs, all these crazy people, the bulletproof glass is this thick. Nothing gets through it. The drones won't hit it. They'll bounce off the roof. We're actually putting a drone port up that's very important, but we have a judge that probably doesn't like Donald Trump. Fortunately, we have appellate judges that, I've done okay with the appellate judges, but I have not done so well with some of these judges that probably have Trump derangement syndrome. But I will say, just in finishing,
by the way, because he was president already and because of the dominance of the Republican movement since his first tenure, most of the judges he's referencing are fucking Republicans or his own personal appointments. And that's why it's so funny whenever he complains about Trump derangement syndrome judges, because the Federalist Society has been such a domineering force in court appointments in this country since the fucking 90s that most of the judges you arrive at are still going to be Republican appointments. And usually they're even his own personal appointments. It's just that he appointed these guys and then he took it too far. And even his own judges that he's appointed are like, yeah, well, we have to keep some semblance of power and some semblance of independence in the judiciary. So we're going to have to say no on this one, big dog. That's it. That's it. And he still turns around and goes, TDS. And it's like the guy that he's talking about is like a fucking Trump appointed judge who's like, yeah, I don't think you should be able to shoot immigrants in the face without due process or something. And he'd be like, TDS. Or I don't think you can actually, I don't know, put your fucking ass print on the side of this government facility. That seems a bridge too far. And he's like, TDS. I can't believe it. You're telling me I can't write my name on the side of every government facility? What the hell do you mean?
We've taken Washington, D.C. from a death trap to one of the safest cities in America.
Mr. President, I appreciate your time. I know you've been rushed today. I don't think you had any sleep, did you?
Not much.
So you flew across.
I had 2 hours for you. 2 hours.
Well,
you need more than 2 hours for him, right? Anyway, thanks.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Wow.